For all you car freaks out there who enjoy seeing sales updated every single month, I'm here to bring you July sales for 2025. Now, yesterday, we talked about how Honda's doing just peachy, while their luxury slash performance division, Acura, is, well, not heading in the right direction. They're down 10%. So watch yesterday's video where I really break it down. It's really worrisome that Acura is down as much as they are, especially on their best sellers. Actually, if it wasn't for the ZDX and ADX, two newcomers into the brand, all of their traditional nameplates are in the red by a lot, and not counting the TLX that was just discontinued. But in today's video, we're focusing on, well, a brand that's not even in here, and that is Subaru. First, we're going to hit on Mazda. You see Mazda right here. They're up 13%. If we look at some comparables, the Koreans are up about that much. Ford up about 10%. Honda itself barely up. Toyota up 22%. I can't really get their sales figures. I'll try. I'll reach out to my press contacts within Toyota to see if I can get sales figures and do an update for you guys. Lexus up 9%. But here we go. Let's get straight into Mazda. What's doing well for Mazda? What's not? It's up 13%. Now, you got to keep in mind last year's July, that's what we're comparing to. That's what they're up 13% from. The CDK outage really hurt a lot of car sales last year for all manufacturers, for all dealerships, essentially. When CDK was hacked and it was brought down, and car sales were definitely affected, and the negative, not the positive, definitely hurt. Now, there's also an additional selling day this July compared to last July, so that's going to help out volume too. The Mazda 3, this vehicle's too old. It hasn't been updated. It's too small on the inside. I know it's a global product, but it is pretty claustrophobic for me to drive a Mazda 3, and I'm 6'1". All right, so Mazda 3, I hope that they come out with a refresh or it needs a redesign, honestly, soon. Still a fun to drive car, still a pretty car, still has great features, but the sales are not there for it. The hatchback especially is plummeting, and it's down 50% on the month and 12% on the year. Not looking good. All right, so Mazda 6 rest in peace while Europe gets the Mazda EZ6 or the Mazda 6e, fully electric or plug-in hybrid, built in China. So we'll never see that car. Anyways, Miata. Hex, yeah, go Miata. One of my favorite vehicles to drive. Drop the top. The manual is so good. It's so light. It's just fun. It's fun embodied into a vehicle. And the MX-5 up 122%. For the month of July is a good thing. It's up 32% so far this year. We're especially seeing growth with the hardtop. But interesting, the hardtop actually outsold the soft top. Me personally, I'd be getting the soft top, but the hardtop's amazing and it looks super cool. It's just the blind spots are bad on it. It's heavier, and you have less trunk space. So anyways, moving on, and it's more expensive. All right, so the CX-30. The sales in the CX-30 keep disappearing, and it could be one of those things that it's hard to explain. Like, what else is hard to explain? Like most of the Acuras being down massively. Is it temporary due to tariffs and they slowed production? Because the CX-30 is mainly built in Mexico. Some are built in Japan that we get in the United States. So maybe they pumped the brakes on the CX-30 and the Mazda 3, which is also built in Mexico, maybe due to tariff situations. I'm not quite sure, but it's down massively, the CX-30. It is definitely due for a redesign soon as well. Down 35%. I just don't know. I don't know what's going on with the CX-30. It's down 35% on the year, over 50% on the month. To me, it's a tough sell because it gets close in price to the CX-5 and the CX-50, and those are much better vehicles, much better vehicles with a lot more space. The CX-30 is so small on the inside for me. If you're a smaller person, it probably doesn't matter. But the window line or the window visibility is also very small, like the Mazda 3. It doesn't do what crossovers need to do particularly well. And that gives you a higher seat, better visibility, and more cargo and passenger space. It doesn't really do any of that. It gives you a higher seat compared to a Mazda 3, but it's essentially a Mazda 3. And that means it has very limited functionality as well. Anyways, CX-5 though, my favorite Mazda crossover, up 4% on the year, but look, all built in Japan, up 20% on the month of July, but the CX-5 is getting a redesign. We should be getting it early 2026. Europe is getting late 2025, the redesigned CX-5. Watch my video on it. They took out the rotary dial, they took out the volume knob, they took out the climate control buttons and knobs, and just gave you a touchscreen, and also took out the buttons on the steering wheel and gave you touch capacitive. So that is not the Mazda I'm looking for. That's not the Jinba Itai horse and rider relationship I'm looking for. I got my fingers crossed that maybe the lower spec CX-5s will have more physical controls, but I'm not getting my hopes up too much. Anyway, CX-9, rest in peace. CX-50, the only Mazda made in the United States and Alabama next to the Corolla Cross, in a joint plant with Toyota, obviously, up 41% on the year, up 65% on the month. They stopped shipping CX-50s outside of the country because this is Mazda's only vehicle that's going to be tariffed the least. Yes, it still has international parts, and those could be tariffed as well, but this is the one that's most safe for Mazda from tariffs. Now, keep in mind, the Mexico tariffs and the Canadian tariffs are still higher than everywhere else right now besides China. Those are at 25%. But there are deductions that can be made based off the USMCA agreements. It's really complicated, and not even the government knows how to tariff vehicles from Mexico and Canada properly, especially when it comes to parts. But all the vehicles coming in from Japan are hit with a 15% tariff, just a flat rate, after the latest trade agreement with the US and Japan. So CX-50, though, definitely the most safe from the tariffs. The CX-5, despite tariffs, it's selling at a really high clip. And yeah, the CX-50 no longer, you can get it in Canada because they're just all keeping them stateside to avoid tariffs. And that makes sense. And the CX-50 also, why does it say total here or TTL? Because that includes the hybrid variant of that model. They used to break it down where they would say CX-50 and CX-50 hybrid. They don't do that. Same thing with the CX-70 and 90. MX-30, rest in peace. I saw one not that long ago, actually, the 100-mile range EV. MX-30, I don't know why it's in here. They just need to chop it off the list. Same thing with the Mazda 6. Like, why? And the CX-9. Like, why are these vehicles still on this list? I don't know. CX-70 up about 70% on the month. You know, it wasn't on sale entirely last year. So the sales numbers are kind of a joke when you look at it compared to the CX-90. The CX-90 has a lower entry price, and it gives you 3 rows of seats, and it's the exact same car as the CX-70. There's slightly different styling on the outside and the inside, but it's exact same car. So that's why we see a 3 times higher selling rate on the CX-90 for the year. But if we look at for the month, it seems like it's actually, yeah, the CX-90 is selling over 4 times more volume in the month of July than the CX-70, which is increasing its pace compared to earlier this year, I would say. So yeah, Mazda CX-70, it doesn't need to exist. It's not like it gives you, yeah, I guess maybe it gives you more cargo, but not by a whole lot. So it is what it is. All right, so as a result, Mazda's up quite a bit, but they had the benefit of an extra selling day. They had the benefit of CDK working all month compared to last July. So them being up 13% on the month is good. All right. I guess this is the volume. This is DSR, which they're pretty close. So volume percentage is what I look at the most. And DSR is a daily selling rate. So the daily selling rate was actually still good compared to last year. And we're still up about 5% for Mazda in the volume. So, and despite so far this year, we're actually down a single selling day. So we're up 5% for Mazda and they've had one less day to sell. So Mazda's doing great. It's the CX-30 that I'm extraordinarily worried about, being down 54% on the month. Don't know what's happening there. And the Mazda 3 as well. My guess is that it's tariff related. My guess is that it has something to do with those cars maybe costing too much in Mexico to ship. That's my guess. And maybe they're sending those cars in Mexico to other countries like Canada. Think about that. If Canada is no longer getting the CX-50, they can get the CX-5, which is the same segment from Japan, but maybe they're also getting those Mazda 3s and Mazda CX-30s and higher volume. We're going to move on over to Subaru. Subaru reports sales up only 4.5%, despite them having an extra day and despite CDK being up all month this year compared to last year. So Crosstrek has maintained its position as the top seller for the brand for the third month in a row. Like I said, the best July ever, a 15% increase over last July. Subaru Ascent, it's the Subaru Descent. Its sales are in the gutter, minus 24 this year, minus even worse for the month, minus 28% for the month, almost 29%. The Subaru Ascent, I've dogged on this vehicle. I've only reviewed it once, and I don't care to review it again. It's a very compromised three-row crossover. There's not that much space in it. Power's okay, but the CVT is not what you want in a vehicle of that size, especially. And it's not competitive in the segment against things like the Telluride, the Palisade, the Grand Highlander. The Pilot's better. The Pathfinder is better with the V6. Same thing with the Pilot with the V6. So there's just so many better options out there for the same money, sometimes less money. The Ascent, like the Highlander for Toyota, not the Grand Highlander, the standard Highlander, it could be replaced soon with an EV built or even a plug-in hybrid or hybrid built in Kentucky, as we know that there is going to be a three-row EV or maybe something else, because the market's changing and the market demand for EVs is what they thought it would be. So maybe they make it into a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. A plug-in hybrid or a hybrid with Toyota technology would really help Subaru out if they could get it, but it is what it is. Who knows what's going to happen with the Ascent. BRZ is also down massively on the month, but it's had a great year, but it's such a niche car. The little GR86 brother made in Japan. Crosstrek is up 15% on the month. Like I said, best July ever, up 14% on the year. It's now the best selling vehicle for the year, just eclipsing the Forester by 100 units or so. The Forester also up 11% on the month, 4% on the year on the new redesign. The Impreza down 8%. The Impreza just got pricing released on it, and they killed the base model. So the pricing went up over $2,000 just to get your feet wet into a Impreza. That's not going to help sales, I don't think. Oh, it's rough. It's a rough place for hatchbacks right now, liftbacks, surprisingly, because you think people need more affordable cars, but the people who have money are buying crossovers, and the people who can't afford a new car in the form of a sedan, oftentimes they're buying used. So yeah, that's, we know over many years since COVID, especially, it has accelerated the killing off of cheaper new car models. It's just the car market's getting less and less interesting. Hate to be a bearer of bad news, but there's less variety in the market. Everything is going crossover. Everything is increasingly more expensive. Everything's increasingly more the same as well. So it's kind of boring. As the WRX sales are down 66% on the month and down 35% on the year. WRX is built in Japan. I don't know if they're like, hey, we don't need to have this vehicle in the United States. We don't need to lose money on it because of tariffs. But keep in mind, July tariffs were 25%. Going forward, they're only 15%. Only, it's still significant, but it's much better than 25%. Solterra, it's kind of like a whatever vehicle because it's really a Toyota built by Toyota. It's up 20% on the year, about 24% on the month. And yeah, Outback, the Subaru Outback, we're getting a redesign, right? By the end of this year, up 5.5% on the month. It's down 8% on the year though. That's quite strange. Not quite sure what's going on there, but it had a good month. Legacy, rest in peace. So Subaru only up 4.5%, despite last year's difficulties in the month of July and despite having an extra day this July compared to last July. I'm not so sold on Subaru's strength as we go forward this year. I know that they have more hybrids coming out. I think that will help them. But if you missed my video on the pricing of the Crosstrek hybrid, it starts like $35,000. And if it's a direct rival to something like the Corolla Cross hybrid, that starts like $7,000 less. And it's a better hybrid. All right. The Crosstrek will have better all-wheel drive, but for fuel economy, the Corolla Cross is better, has more range, and it's going to be more reliable, I bet, as well. And same thing with like the Forester hybrid. They start really, really high in price compared to the competition, like what you can get a CRV for, a Sportage hybrid for, a RAV4. So, I think Subaru, when they are launching these hybrids, they're launching them at mid to higher trim levels to cash in on the pent-up demand from Subaru customers asking for a hybrid, but eventually they're going to have to come out with lower trim level, lower prices on their hybrids to compete, I think, in today's market. WRX, I wouldn't be surprised if they kill it. The latest rumors for the WRX is that it's going to be kind of like the Impreza. It looks like it's going to be like a 5-door sort of thing. And I would love for a liftback WRX to come back. So we'll see there. That's maybe one of the few things I'm excited about in the Subaru lineup, but that's just hearsay. That's just, take that with a grain of salt. I am actually excited for the Trail Seeker EV and the Toyota variant. I think the Toyota variant looks better, the Woodland, BZ Woodland. But yeah, Subaru, they're increasingly more and more like Toyota. I think that's a good thing for their brand. They have their hybrids that they have were co-developed with Toyota. All right. Their advantage here over Toyota hybrids is that they have superior mechanical all-wheel drive with their hybrid, but at the cost of fuel economy and at the cost of added weight compared to Toyota's hybrids, and potentially at the cost of more maintenance to service differentials and things like that. You don't have that on Toyota all-wheel drive hybrids because they use an e-axle disconnect. It doesn't have a mechanical linkage to the rear wheels. It just has a little motor in the back. So with that being said, Subaru and Mazda, they're good. They're fine for now. And again, the numbers are a little inflated compared to last year, but Mazda definitely doing okay this month, even though they had a couple setbacks the past couple months. Subaru had a couple setbacks the last couple months as well. The numbers look fine temporarily, but it's going to be tough for them when you have holes in your lineup. All right. The CX-30, for some reason, and the Mazda 3 are completely in the dumps. Subaru, their Ascent is just not competitive. And that's the main thing holding them back as they essentially kill off their sedans, right? The Legacy gone, the Impreza is probably next on the chopping block. I mean, it is what it is. So I'll see you guys in the comments, and stay tuned because I need to make another video on Hyundai and Kia breaking sales records as well for the month of July, which is, it's just fantastic and exciting for me to cover. But stay tuned. I got a lot more coming for you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.